Welcome into the next edition of the Jason Henry Project. I am your ever gracious host, Jason Henry. On this edition of the podcast, I'm going to run down a few important stories for you. The city of Boston was rocked by a terrorist attack last week after two men set off pressure cooker bombs at the finish line of the Boston Marathon, killing 3 people and injuring hundreds. I'll speak about the fallout from the attack and give a different angle on how some people feel about the response. The great broadcasting legend Pat Summerall passed away this past week at the age of 82. I'll talk a little bit about Summerall's impact on the game of football and how his voice was the soundtrack to so many NFL games that I viewed. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers purchased a new island, not a physical one, but the team traded the 13th overall pick in Thursday's NFL draft to the New York Jets for cornerback Darrelle Revis. I'll talk a little bit about Revis' new contract and his impact on the Buccaneers. Congress failed to pass gun legislation that would have required background checks for persons trying to purchase firearms at gun shows. Is the NRA responsible for blocking meaningful gun legislation, or are we placing too much blame on the gun lobby? President Obama signed a partial repeal of the Stock Act, an act that is supposed to serve as a conduit to keep members of Congress from committing insider trading. I'll speak about why the president may have chosen to sign this repeal and what it means for you. Lastly, I'll revisit a story I mentioned a couple of episodes ago regarding Rick Ross and lyrics in hip-hop. Ross was dropped by Reebok for his lyric about drugging a woman, taking her home, and enjoying her while she was drugged. But where should we draw the line with how far lyrics can go in hip-hop? All that on this edition of the Jason Henry Project. It's time for the president to enact or suggest serious reform that will aid the communities who came out in droves to support him. As long as we continue to send thousands upon thousands of black men to prison for small drug offenses that tear apart the black family, we will never heal or thread the tear in our social fabric. Now, I'm not asking you to agree with me. I understand that there is personal responsibility involved in this. You did not have to go out and sell that pack of drugs. You did not have to go out and buy that pack of drugs. But the federal government did not have to sentence you to 20 years for that small portion of drugs that you may have had on your person. This may sound like a conspiracy theory, and to many it may be, but it is a part of the prison industrial complex. Google it. You'll find that longer prison sentences, especially for folks of color in communities of heavy minority populations, individuals who are arrested at a higher rate, individuals who are placed in prisons and jails across the... All right, guys, next up on the project, let's discuss the Obama administration and their control issues. A couple of weeks ago, it was revealed that the Department of Justice seized the phone records of phone records from the AP in an effort to control leaks. According to the Associated Press, records for more than 20 telephone lines were obtained. AP CEO Gary Pruitt sent a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder that says, and I quote, "We regard this action by the Department of Justice as a serious interference with AP's constitutional rights to gather and report the news," end quote. Pruitt continues by saying that there can be no possible justification for such an overboard collection of the telephone communication of the Associated Press and its reporters, end quote. On top of the AP scandal, the IRS revealed that they investigated conservative and Tea Party organizations. According to information from a Washington Post report, start quote, IRS officials at the agency's Washington headquarters sent queries to conservative groups asking about their donors, end quote. While the Obama administration had nothing to do with the IRS mess, it's just another PR blow to an administration that already seems sensitive to how it's viewed in the press. Remember when Obama said that he would usher in a new age of transparency when he was first elected? This kind of flies in the face of that, doesn't it? Seeming to understand the gravity of the situation, Obama rightfully attacked the actions of the IRS, saying that he has no patience with it and that he would not tolerate it. He also welcomed an investigation into what happened. Now, while I stand to the left on the political sphere, this story really just smells bad. Sounds as if these organizations were attacked because of their political affiliation.
LeBron James is being LeBron James. Chris Bosh had an awful game last night, only 7 points. So
Really?
it's really tough. Yeah. Did not play that well at all last night. It's a really tough series, really physical. If you just go and look at some of the highlights, like look at what Dwayne Wade did to Lance Stevenson. He elbowed him upside the head. You have a lot of banging down in the paint. So it's a really fun series if you're a fan of the NBA. Even if you aren't, it's really an interesting thing to watch.
What's with all the fighting though? The last
It's very
game.
aggressive this year, right?
Yeah, a lot of teams don't like the Heat. They feel like, remember when Joakim Noah of the Bulls said that they were Hollywood as heck a couple years ago?
Yeah.
They were playing them in the series. Yeah, so a lot of teams don't like the Heat, and the Pacers are one of those blue-collar type. They're from Indiana. In Indiana, this team was built by Larry Bird, who came from Boston, who has that blue-collar type of background. So you have a lot of guys.
The original Birdman.
The original Birdman, exactly. So you have a lot of guys who aren't with that type of finesse play that, the Heat are pretty much known for, I guess you can say. And the Pacers, they'll bloody your nose. It's not the type of physical basketball that I grew up with the Knicks and the Bulls when, you could take a clothesline or elbow to the face and they wouldn't call a foul. But it's the type of physical basketball that we're used to now, where you're going to see a lot of banging, a lot of pushing, some hard fouls. You may see LeBron get fouled pretty hard. You may see Dwayne Wade get fouled pretty hard, but it's just a part of the series. I still think the Heat are probably going to pull it out in 6 games. I still think 6. It could go 7. Because now we're back to 1-1-1. It's basically a best-of-3 series now. The next game is in Miami. After that, the next one would be in Indiana, and then they go back to Miami if it goes to a 7th game. But the next 2 games, at least, are going to be some of the hardest-fought games we've seen all season.
Joining us tonight is Jason Henry with the Orange County Young Democrats and Keith Knaus, a young Republican. Thanks for coming in, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in. We are 2 days out. 4 national polls have President Obama and Mitt Romney tied. 4 polls. Is there anything either candidate can do at this point to break away before Tuesday?
Well, it depends. There could be a gaffe. There could be another major event to happen. But as far as what we've seen, I think that's what you're going to get. The national polls have been tight for a pretty good while now.
Yeah.
But I think if we look at the states polling, that's kind of where the rubber really needs to roll, especially for President Obama. He's still up in Ohio. He's looking good with Wisconsin, over in Pennsylvania as well, and in Nevada. So if we look at the states polls, Obama's looking pretty good for Tuesday, but nationally, they still seem to be tied.
So, Jason, it seems like you would subscribe to the belief then that whoever takes Ohio is going to take the election?
Absolutely.
Any type of ground troop movement, I think the United States is okay, but the minute that happens, then President Obama is going to be in a tight situation.
Do you think they would press forward and actually either one, give aid to the rebels or two, send troops? It seems like I think the president's a little hesitant about doing things of that nature. I think he'd be very hesitant about making any kind of move, especially military action in that area. What do you think, though?
Nah, my honest opinion is that he's not going to do anything. He's going to drag his feet on this as long as he can to try to get out of his second term without any type of military intervention, any type of strong military intervention, because he's intervened in countries, he's intervened in Africa, he's intervened in other countries, but on a lower scale, and he does not want any type of war while he's president. So the biggest thing that he may end up doing is arming the rebels. That may even take some time, but I do not think you're going to see any type of major military intervention, unless something major happens, which I don't see happening, because over 80,000 Syrians have been killed in the civil war in Syria, and the international community, I don't want to say they're sitting on their hands, but they haven't made any type of overture to stop what Assad is doing to his own people. You saw a couple of weeks ago where Turkey said that they have evidence that he used chemical weapons on his own people. Nothing has happened since that report actually surfaced. So President Obama doesn't want to have any type of military intervention in Syria because he does not want that on his record.